looking. I've been looking, searching, trying to find the right way to walk. Stay beside me, guide me, and try me. I wanna walk in your light. I've been looking, searching, trying to find the right way to walk. The Lord is my light, my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. And whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even my enemy, of the things I stop, put all in thee. Believe you got the world in your hand. You bless me, Lord, I know I can stand. Show me the way, Lord. I will be faithful, for I am desolate and afflicted. Lord, show me the way.
Then I want to say to the people that are watching us live on the internet, good afternoon. And as always, it is good to stand before you on the Lord's Sabbath day. So, you know, and it's, before I get into it, I always forget stuff. So I'm not going to forget this. Two things. First thing is, I want Brother Henry and the sisters from Baltimore to stand up. Because it's, all right. One with the white head on her thing, she is the wife of the one that's running the camp up there, okay? Glad to have her. But we're going to get right into the lesson. You know, this lesson is titled, A Prophet Like Unto Moses. A Prophet Like Unto Moses. You know, sisters and brothers, when you get off nowadays into the modern day Christian world, I won't say modern day because it's been around a long time. I'll say the Roman Christian world, they try and associate everything in the New Testament, starting with Jesus. I won't say associate, I said disassociate everything in the New Testament, starting with Jesus, from the Old Testament and Moses. We're going to show you, sisters and brothers, that Moses was the prototype for Jesus, and Israel is the prototype and microcosm of the whole world. As it went with Moses, so is going to happen with Jesus. As it's going with Israel, so it is going to be with the whole world. But nobody reads the Bible. Nowadays, when you deal with the Word of God, sisters and brothers, it's almost like you're dealing with a strange thing. You're reading out a strange book. You're speaking another language. And this is the one of the things that's fine. I'm finding out I get phone calls sometime from people because ever since we've been on WJYS, we get phone calls. You know why? It's because we're not talking about fairy tales. We're dealing with things that let people know what they have to do to get salvation. This is what it's all about. So we're going to show you today the prophet like unto Moses. That's the Jesus like unto Moses. And you're going to find out that what he is doing is quite different from the Jesus that is of Rome. Now we're going to pick it up as Deuteronomy, the 18th chapter. See, when the Lord came down and spoke the 10 commandments to Israel, scared them to death. And when he got through telling them his commandments, when he was on Mount Sinai, the people removed from the mount, and the Bible said that means they fled, they ran away from the mount. And then they told Moses, so look, Moses, we don't want to talk to the Lord no more. We don't want to hear his voice no more lest we die. So I tell you, you go and get the message from the Lord, and you bring us the message, and we will do all that you said. Yeah. But we don't want to talk to God no more. So the Lord heard them when they made that request to Moses, and Moses told them what the Lord said. We're going to start at verse 15. Deuteronomy chapter 18 and verse 15. Okay, read it.
The Lord thy God will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee of thy brethren like unto me.
Now look, he said, the Lord thy God, because y'all made this request, you don't want to talk to him no more. The Lord thy God will raise up a prophet from among your brethren like unto me. And we're going to show you that it's not loose talk. Go ahead and read.
Unto him you shall hearken.
He said, unto him you shall hearken. Go ahead and read.
According to all that thou desirest of the Lord thy God in Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of the Lord my God, neither let me see this great fire anymore, that I die not.
He said, I'm doing this according to what you said. You didn't want me to show up and talk to you personally, so you said, we don't want to talk to you no more. So I'm going to raise up a prophet from among your brethren like unto him. In other words, the Lord said, I am honoring your request. I'm honoring your request. What verse are we?
We are 17.
Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto me, they have well spoken that which they have spoken. I will raise up unto them a prophet from among their brethren like unto thee.
Go ahead.
And will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him.
In other words, Lord, I heard what they said. They made it very clear they didn't want to deal with me no more personally.
Right.
So what's going to happen is, I'm going to send a prophet from among them, but the words that he speaks are going to be my words. He ain't going to come speaking his own thing. That's what people never pay no attention when Jesus said he speak only what he's been told or what he heard. Go ahead and read.
And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require of him.
And it said, whosoever that will not listen to the words which I gave him, which are my words, he said, it's going to be required of him. In other words, we're going to read in the New Testament, he's telling, hey, they're going to be destroyed. He said, according to your request, I'm going to raise up a prophet like you, unto you, like unto Moses. And we're going to examine this and see if this was loose talk or is the Lord really being specific. We're going to go back to Exodus, the first chapter. Because Israel went down into Egypt, sisters and brothers. And it was 70 souls that came out of Egypt. And they went out there, and 70 souls that came out of Jacob, brother. 70 souls. And we're going to show you that over the years, they grew to a great number. So great until the Egyptians started to fear. Exodus 1 and verse 1. Go ahead and read.
Now these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt. Every man in his household came with Jacob.
Now, you can read all the rest of them on your own, but he's letting you know it was 70 of them. Skip down to verse 7 and go. And in the meantime, sisters and brothers, Joseph was already in Egypt. Joseph rose up to be the second ruler in Egypt. In fact, he ran Egypt because he was the one that got Pharaoh in Egypt and the rest of the world through a great famine for 7 years because of his wisdom. But then Joseph died and a generation passed and Israel started to multiply. And there came up another Pharaoh that didn't remember Joseph. Skip down to verse 7 and go ahead.
And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty. And the land was filled with them. Now there rose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them.
Now he said, look, so these people have really multiplied. And they are more and mighty than we are. All Egypt was filled with these people. He said, now we got to do something to these people. Let's see what he said. Go ahead and read.
Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join us also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land.
So now, Egyptians have started to really prosper from the labor of Israel. They hadn't become slaves yet, but it's obvious they had good, cheap labor. So he said, now look, we got to deal with these people, because if we get into a war, they're going to join our enemies, then they're going to get up out of the land. In other words, they're going to leave Egypt. So what did he do? Go ahead and read.
Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses.
Go ahead.
But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew.
Now that lets you know who built all these cities, sisters and brothers.
Yeah.
They afflicted them, and the more they multiplied, the more they grew. So they couldn't do nothing with these people. Go ahead and read.
And they were grieved because of the children of Israel.
Now, because of that, the Pharaoh had to come up with another solution. Maybe what you call ethnic cleansing.
Yeah.
But it was even more than that. What do they call it nowadays when you try to exterminate a whole people? Genocide. But it was going to do it in a clean way. Let's show you how they was going to do it. Let's go skip now to verse 15. We're going to call it birth control. Verse 15, go ahead.
And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah.
Now, you know, these midwives, you didn't have doctors. Nowadays, they done complicated everything. A woman have a baby, her insurance company or somebody, when she had that baby, she's going to end up owing the hospital about $15,000 to $20,000.
Yeah.
It ain't necessary. I can tell you that because I was delivered by a midwife. Kate Smith, never forget it. Come in, mama had me, boom, gone. I think it must have gave Sister Smith maybe about $75. So now when they came to the midwife, he had 2 midwives, and look what he said about these midwives. Go ahead and read.
16. And he said, when you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then you shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live.
Well, why is it he's going to kill only the males and not the female? Because the man carried the seed, sisters and brothers. This is something that the whole world don't understand. You hear people always talk about, you know, well, I'm half Indian and I'm half Polish. I said, who is your daddy? Well, my dad is Polish. Well, you're 100% Polish.
That's it.
It's all that simple. The man carried the seed. Say it all the time. If you plant corn at the seaside, when it grow up, it's corn. If you plant it in the mountain, it's corn. If you put it in your window flower pot, when it grow up, it is corn.
Teach.
Man carried the seed. Whole world going to sleep on that. I see all this DNA stuff on television. Woman said, well, I found out that I belong to the world.
Yeah.
That make no sense. Whatever your dad is, that's what you are. Go ahead and read.
17. But the midwives feared God and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive.
So now the midwives wouldn't do that. They was afraid of God. So they still saved the children alive. Told Pharaoh, look, Hebrew women are more lively than Egyptian women. Before I can get to them, they done had the baby.
Yeah.
So then Pharaoh turned around and made it and put his own people on the job. Skip down to verse 22. Verse 22, and read it.
And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born, you shall cast into the river. And every daughter you shall save alive.
Now, so he went to his own people. Now, his people carried it out. You had a male child, all your neighbors watching. If you got pregnant, how can you hide a pregnancy? They watch. If you had a male child, Egyptian soldiers or somebody, they call the soldiers, look here. They just had a baby over there. They come over there and examine the baby. If it's male, Nile River fed the crocodiles. You know, they have some big crocodiles at Nile River. So in the meantime, Moses was born. Let's go into Genesis, the 2nd chapter. Exodus, the 2nd chapter. Exodus, the 2nd chapter. And start reading at verse 1. Because this is Moses now. And we're going to look at some prophecies about Moses and compare them to Jesus later on. 2 and 1. Go ahead and read.
And there went a man of the house of Levi and took to wife a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him that he was a goodly child,
go ahead,
she hid him 3 months. And when she could not longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes and daubed it with slime and with pitch and put the child therein. And she laid him in the flags by the river's brink.
Now look, she hid Moses all long as she could, but you know when all your neighbors looking over your fence, it's get pretty rough. So she made her little old bitty boat and put him in the flags of the river. Had to be the Nile River. That means the reeds, then the shallow water. Because the Egyptian woman found him, she named him Moses because she said, I got me up from the water because I got him from the water. Right. So now, she put him in there. Now his sister watched him. Go ahead and read.
And his sister stood afar off to wit what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river. And her maidens walked along by the riverside.
Go ahead.
And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child. And behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him and said, this is one of the Hebrews' children.
Ain't that something? You go get your baby to get away from the Egyptian and go floating right up into Pharaoh's house. This is Pharaoh's daughter here. This is one of Hebrews' children, but she had compassion on him. That means she didn't want to kill him. She wanted to keep it.
Yeah.
And look what she said. Go ahead and read.
Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she might nurse the child for thee?
This girl knew that she wanted to keep her. She apparently made it, I'm going to keep this one.
Yep.
She said, okay, then do you want to nurse? I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse this child. Because the Egyptians don't know about nursing no Hebrew women. The children, go ahead and read.
And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother.
Ain't that something? Went and called the mother. Go ahead and read.
And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it.
Now, how could she keep Moses now and keep her? Because she was under Pharaoh's daughter's protection.
Yes.
Well, now his mother became his nanny and raising Pharaoh's grandson.
Teach.
And when nobody dare lay a finger on Pharaoh's grandson. But that's something to be learned here, sister. That let me know one thing. Now, if Pharaoh's daughter is going to raise Moses as her son, right, and she is an Egyptian, and the Egyptians are black, what color was Moses?
Make it plain.
See, sometimes you learn something on your way to learning something. And what people don't understand is when the Greeks look up on Mizraim, on the Mizraimites, because that's Egypt's real name, Mizraim, they said, these people are black. You know what the word black is in Greek? Egypt. People don't understand that. So now, she took it. And his mother nursed him. Go ahead and read.
10. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses, and she said, because I drew him out of the water.
That's because what Moses means, drawn out of the water. She got him in the Nile River. That's what river we're talking about. And the flags, you know how the weeds, you know how it is, weeds grow and the water's shallow. She found him there. So what properties then did Moses carry with him? He was the only male in Israel his age. Because Pharaoh killed all the rest of them. Now let's go and have a look at Jesus. We're going to be in and out of Genesis, so put you a marker here.
Exodus.
Exodus, rather, because I don't know why I'm obsessed with Genesis today. But keep your marker here. We're going to be in and out of it. Now let's go into Matthew, the 2nd chapter. Matthew, the 2nd chapter. Because sometimes, sisters and brothers, it is just good to take your time and see what's it mean. Because I read that thing when it said, I'm going to raise a prophet up unto you like unto Moses. You know, what does that mean? How could Moses Jesus could possibly, how could he possibly be compared to Moses? So I decided to look for it. And when I looked for it, this lesson that you're hearing is what I come up with. So that's what you have to do sometime when you read the Word of God. So why is this here? Why did he say that? Why was this statement made? And pursue it. You'll be surprised at what you'll find out. You might find out the message that God left for you. Matthew chapter 2. Matthew chapter 2. And we're going to start reading at verse 1. Matthew chapter 2 and verse 1. Okay, read.
Now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem.
Wait a minute, you missed something. 3 wise men.
Wise men.
You sure?
There came wise men.
Oh, we just learned something again, didn't we?
Yes, sir.
On our way to learning something. Wasn't no 3 wise men, it's
no,
wise
sir.
men. Could have been from 2 to 2,000.
Wise men.
Go ahead and read.
Saying, where is he that is born king of the Jews?
Oh, where is he that is born my personal Savior?
King of the Jews.
My God and light.
King of the Jews.
Oh, so they gave his real title, didn't they?
Yes.
See, sometimes, sisters and brothers, sometimes people tell me, Brother Bush, sometimes you be too tedious. No, I'm not. The world is so dumb until you need to know these things.
That is right.
Every time you get the title of Jesus, the King of the Jews, the King of Israel.
Yep.
No other way. I'm telling you that. If there's another way, read it and read it back to me. Go ahead and read.
Where is he that is born king of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and are come to worship him.
Go ahead.
When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled and all Jerusalem with him.
Now look, Herod heard it and he was troubled. Why was Herod troubled? Because he was the king of the Jews. The Romans made him the king of the Jews. And why was all Israel troubled? You should read up on Herod the Great. The man was a fanatic. He killed everybody that he thought looked at his throne. If you just walked in the palace and looked over at his throne, you was dead. So that's why everybody was troubled when he got troubled. Skip down to verse 7. Now he called in the wise men. Go ahead and read.
Then Herod, when he had privately called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, go and search diligently for the young child. And when they had found him, bring me word again that I may come and worship him also.
So he called them in. So I want y'all to search diligently for this young child. When you find him, let me know, because I want to worship him. You know, he wants to worship the newborn king. But then he had something else on his mind.
Yeah.
Skip down to verse 11. Verse 11. And let's see what it is. Go ahead and read.
And when they were coming to the house, they saw the young child with Mary, his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh.
Now, sisters and brothers, I already figured out what he got up with the three wise men. Because they looked at the gold, the frankincense, and the myrrh. Maybe one of them could have gave him gold and frankincense. And the other two gave him myrrh. Or maybe just one gave it all to him and the other one didn't give him nothing. Or maybe all three of them gave him the same thing. Y'all catch that, all three of them? You see how I can grab you? I ain't grabbed, I just wanted to make you think about what I'm saying. But anyway, they all gave him gifts. Go ahead and read.
Verse 12. And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way.
So the wise men never went back. So they went another way. Go ahead and read.
And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, arise and take the young child and his mother and flee into Egypt and be thou there until I bring thee word. For Herod will seek the young child to destroy him.
So now he told Joseph, now I want you to get up, take your wife and your baby and go down to Egypt. I want you to be there because Herod don't want to praise your baby. He want to kill it.
Yeah.
Why did he say, now you take Mary and go on over to Rome now, or Italy?
He didn't say that.
Because the Romans ran it all, sisters and brothers. The Romans was in charge of the world. The Romans made Herod king of Judah. They did. So now all Herod had to say to Rome, I want that new family that went down into Egypt. But he didn't say that. You know why? Because Joseph, the Lord didn't send him down there to protect him. He sent him down there to hide him. It was just another black family in a black nation.
Yes.
So if Jesus had been white like we've been told all our life, they should have sent him to Italy.
That's right.
He could have blended in there. Who wouldn't have noticed a brand new white family to move into a black nation in the black community? Everybody would say, here he is, Herod. But no, I just wanted to point that out. But go ahead and read.
Verse 14. When he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night and departed into Egypt. And was there until the death of Herod.
And he was there till the death of Herod. Go ahead and read.
That it might be fulfilled which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet, saying, out of Egypt have I called my son.
Said the same thing about Israel. Go ahead and read.
Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceeding wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem and in all the coasts thereof, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men.
So now, what did he do? He went and killed all the males, sisters and brothers, from 2 years and back. I said Herod was a murderer, but he wasn't very smart. It took him 2 years to come to the conclusion that the wise men wasn't going to come and tell him.
2 years.
Kill all the males from 2 years and back. So now, when Jesus died, like the Bible said, a generation died.
Yes.
So when Moses died, what died? A generation, sisters and brothers. That's one thing. That's when brothers say, well, you know, everybody come, they want to be that prophet. I asked, man, how old are you? So and so. I said, I can tell you, I can name you 5 or 6 people that were born on your birthday. They ain't supposed to be living.
Right.
They supposed to be dead. That's one why he like unto Moses, sisters and brothers. Now let's go back to Exodus, the 2nd chapter. Back to Exodus, the 2nd chapter. That's why I tell people, because you might not say it, but your sisters and brothers, you got more people call themselves that Christ. A brother even called me on the phone. Thought he was him. I just hung up on him. I'm not even going to entertain this conversation. Be crazy with on somebody else's time, not on mine. I ain't talking with no crazy person. I ain't seen nowhere written, so I have to talk to a crazy person. Exodus, the 2nd chapter, and we're going to start reading at verse 11. But a lot of people claim, believe me. Verse 11, go ahead and read.
And it came to pass in those days, when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren and looked on their burdens. And he spied an Egyptian smiting a Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way. And when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand.
Now, he went out when he grew up. You know, 10 Commandments don't let you know Moses didn't know who he was. It was his mama raised him, so she knew who he was as soon as he was big enough to comprehend. He went out to see his people, sisters and brothers. Saw an Egyptian beating on the Hebrew. He looked around, you know what he said, make sure there wasn't nobody looking. And he killed him. Somebody was looking. Go ahead and read.
And when he went out of the 2nd day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strove together. And he said to him that did the wrong, wherefore smitest thou thy fellow?
Go ahead.
And he said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us?
Look, that's what the Hebrew that was whooping up the other, apparently he was winning. So he said, who made you a prince and a judge over us? Go ahead and read.
Intendest thou to kill me as thou killest the Egyptian? And Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known.
Yeah, Moses knew that Israel cannot hold a secret. 2 of us could be locked in a vault and come up with something before the sun go down. The world gonna know about it. He said, look, surely this thing is known.
Right.
So he ran. Go ahead and read.
Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well.
Go ahead.
Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock.
Go ahead.
And the shepherds came and drove them away. But Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock.
Now Moses, well, I guess he must be pretty rough. He whipped these shepherds and watered their flock. Go ahead and read.
And when they came to Reuel, their father, he said, how is it that you are come so soon today? And they said, an Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds and also drew water enough for us and watered the flock.
An Egyptian, sisters and brothers. An Egyptian drew water. Even though Ishmael's children, the Arabs, are called themselves Egyptians. Even now, the one that calls himself a Jew couldn't pass for an Egyptian.
Right.
So why did they think he was an Egyptian? Because Egypt and Israel are the same color, sisters and brothers.
Yes.
One came out of Ham, one came out of Shem. Egypt is Ham's 2nd oldest son. Ham's 1st oldest son is Ethiopia, which is Cush. When the Greeks looked at the Cushites, they said, these people have burnt faces.
Right.
Greek word for burnt face is Ethiop, from which the word Ethiopia came, sister.
Teach.
But we don't pay no attention to that. So now, when they said that the Egyptian delivered us, skip down to verse 21. And go ahead.
And Moses was content to dwell with the man. And he gave Moses Zipporah, his daughter.
Go ahead.
And she bare him a son, and he called his name Gershom.
So now Moses stayed down with him. Man gave him his son, gave him his daughter, and he married and had children. Go ahead and read.
For he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land. And it came to pass in process of time that the king of Egypt died. And the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage, and they cried. And their cry came up unto God by reason of the bondage.
Now, this Egyptian king of Egypt died, the one that tried to catch Moses, but the slavery of Israel got worse and worse. So the Lord heard it. Now let's see what the Lord is going to do about it, sisters and brothers. Because once the Lord hears something, he acts on it.
Yes.
So let's go into Exodus, the 3rd chapter. Exodus, the 3rd chapter. And we're going to start reading at verse 1. Exodus 3 and 1. Now the Lord had heard Israel crying because the Egyptians was really enslaving. In fact, sisters and brothers, this is our first enslavers, the Egyptians. We became a nation down in Egypt. That's why we became a nation. Right. And we was enslaved by people that looked like us. Think about it. That looked like us even before we came under the curse. So Ham enslaved us from his own, on his own, without being inspired by God. Think about it. Don't nobody pay no attention to stuff like that. This slavery here is under the curse. That first slavery wasn't under the curse.
Right.
It's under people that look just like you that don't care nothing for you.
So don't.
To this day. Believe me. Exodus 3 and 1. Go ahead.
Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. And he led the flock to the backside of the desert and came to the mountain of God, even to Horeb.
Go ahead.
And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed.
Now the Lord knew how to get your attention. So Moses saw that. This bush burning is not being burned up. He wanted to see what was going on. Go ahead and read.
And Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burnt. And when the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses.
Go ahead.
And he said, here am I.
Go ahead.
And he said, draw not nigh here. Put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground.
Now, and from that day, from that moment, the Lord started telling Moses what he wanted him to do. Skip down to verse 10. Verse 10, and go ahead.
Come now, therefore, and I will send thee unto Pharaoh, that thou mayest bring forth my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt.
So now, he didn't just get Israel, and the Lord could have snatched them out himself. He didn't need to send nobody, but he wanted to do what he did because he had something that's going to give a great message in these last days. So he said, come now, I'm going to send you into Egypt, and I want you to bring my people out. So let's go into Exodus, the 4th chapter. Exodus, the 4th chapter, and start reading at verse 10. Exodus 4 and verse 10. Okay, go ahead.
And Moses said unto the Lord, oh, my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither is there heretofore. Nor since thou hast spoken unto thy servant, but I am slow of speech and of a slow tongue.
Now, Moses tried to get out of it. And I can understand that. Believe me. But I notice one thing about something. The Lord don't care what your physical condition is or whether or how well you can speak. If he wants you, he going to send you. Even Paul talking about how crude his speech was.
Right.
So Moses tried to get out of it, and I know what Moses feels like now. Believe me, I know. But skip down to verse 14 and go ahead.
And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Moses.
Yeah, he resisted so until God got mad at it. Now you got all these preachers always, well, the Lord done called me. Somebody always telling me that.
Yeah.
Moses resisted so until the Lord got mad at him. and the anger of the Lord was kindled against Moses. Go ahead and read.
And he said, is not Aaron the Levite thy brother?
Go ahead.
I know that he can speak well. And also, behold, he cometh forth to meet thee. And when he see thee, he will be glad in his heart.
Now, look, I done covered that, Moses. I know you can't talk, mister. So I done sent you a talker.
Right?
Already. Go ahead and read.
And thou shalt speak unto him, and put words in his mouth, and I will be with thy mouth, and with his mouth, and will teach you what you shall do.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a prophet. I'm going to tell you what to do, then you're going to tell him what to do, then he's going to go and tell Pharaoh what to do.
Yeah.
Skip down to verse 19. Verse 19, go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Moses in Midian, Go, return to Egypt, for all the men are dead which sought thy life.
So now, Moses had run from Midian from the Pharaoh. Now the Lord told Moses, return to Egypt, for all the men that seek thy life are dead.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, we left Jesus down in Egypt, didn't we? Now let's see what happened to Jesus now. Let's go back to Matthew, the 2nd chapter. Matthew, the 2nd. Because we are going to find out if indeed the Lord have raised up a prophet from among the children of Israel like unto their brothers. Back to Matthew 2nd. Matthew chapter 2, and we're going to start reading at verse 19. Matthew chapter 2 and verse 19. Okay, go ahead.
But when Herod was dead, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt.
So now, when Herod died, just like that Pharaoh died,
right?
An angel appeared to Joseph in Egypt. Go ahead and read.
Saying, arise and take the young child and his mother and go into the land of Israel.
I want you to rise and take your wife and your child and go into the land of Israel. Go ahead and read.
For they are dead which sought the young child's life.
Don't that sound familiar?
Yes, sir. Just like Moses.
For they are dead which sought the young man's child's life. In other words, sisters and brothers, it was exactly like Moses. So when you look at this and you keep looking at it, you say, there's a lot of things. If I want to know what's going to happen tomorrow, all I got to do is look back, see what happened yesterday.
That's right.
We're going to investigate some of it. Let's go back to Exodus, the 7th chapter. Exodus chapter 7, rather. Exodus chapter 7. Because all you got to do, sisters and brothers, is look at this thing. The Lord gave great messages. He gave precise messages, and ain't nobody listening. That's why you get all these different religious denominations. They are all over the map because nobody bothered to read the road map. Because I don't care what you call yourself, if you read this Bible and understand that you're going in one direction. Exodus 7 and verse 1. Exodus 7 and verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Moses, see, I have made thee a god to Pharaoh, and Aaron thy brother shall be thy prophet.
Ain't that something? I done made you a god. Not only was he a god to Pharaoh, he had him a prophet.
Right.
Ain't that what the Lord said?
Yeah.
Go ahead and read.
Thou shalt speak all that I command thee, and Aaron thy brother shall speak unto Pharaoh, that he send the children of Israel out of his land.
Go ahead.
And I will harden Pharaoh's heart and multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt.
He said, I'm going to harden his heart so I can multiply my signs on him. Go ahead and read.
But Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you.
Why is it? He said, he ain't going to listen to you, Moses. Why? Read it.
That I may lay my hands upon Egypt.
Let me tell you something, sister and brother. When you touch Israel, the apple of God's eye, you got to pay.
Oh, that's simple.
He said, I'm going to tell Pharaoh under any condition, any sane man, unmanipulated, will let you go when I slap him the first time. But he ain't going to let you go. You know why? Because I want to lay my hand on Egypt. Because the Egyptians have woefully mistreated my people. Some of the other people in these other nations need to read this. Go ahead and read.
And bring forth my armies and my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great judgments. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord when I stretch forth my hand upon Egypt and bring out the children of Israel from among them.
He said, they're going to know it when I get through with them and bring Israel out. They didn't know that Moses, God was God, sisters and brothers. He had to introduce himself. And he going to do it to this world. Skip down to verse 14. Verse 14 and go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Pharaoh's heart is hardened. He refused to let the people go.
He said, now, ain't that something? God got you. You can't. you can't give up. And look, you done broke your leg, and you can't give up. You still trying to fight. You break your arm, you still trying to fight. And you ask, why am I trying to fight? Because when God don't let you give up, you can't give up. Go ahead and read.
15. Get thee unto Pharaoh in the morning. Lo, he goeth out into the water, and thou shalt stand by the river's brink against he come. And the rod which was turned into a serpent shalt thou take in thine hand. And thou shalt say unto him, the Lord God of the Hebrews has sent me unto thee, saying, let my people go, that they may serve me in the wilderness. And behold, hitherto thou wouldest not hear.
Ain't that something? Now, he knowing this cat can't do it. Moses know he can't let him go. But still he said what the Lord said. Better let my people go. Go ahead and read.
Thus saith the Lord, in this thou shalt know that I am the Lord. Behold, I will smite thee with the rod that is in mine hand upon the waters which are in the river.
Go ahead.
And they shall be turned to blood. And the fish that is in the river shall die, and the river shall stink, and the Egyptians shall loathe to drink of the water of the river.
Now he said, look, I'm going to turn your river into blood. The fish going to die. And let's see what the Lord did. Skip down to verse 20 and go ahead.
And Moses and Aaron did so, as the Lord commanded. And he lifted up the rod and smote the waters that were in the river, in the sight of Pharaoh, and in the sight of his servants, and all the waters that were in the river were turned to blood.
So now, he did that. That was the first plague he did. He smote the rivers, and it turned to blood. Again, of course, fish can't live in blood. That was the first plague he brought on Egypt, sisters and brothers. Go ahead and read.
And the fish that were in the river died, and the river stank, and the Egyptians could not drink of the water of the river, and there was blood throughout all the land of Egypt. And the magicians of Egypt did so with their enchantments. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, neither did he hearken unto them as the Lord had said.
Now look, so the Egyptian pharaohs, they jumped out there and they did their little magic. So took credit for turning the blood. So Pharaoh, my musician, can do the same thing. So he was hard, so you ain't did nothing. God did that to harden his heart. Now let's go into the 8th chapter of Exodus. Because the Lord said, I ain't going to let you go. And Moses said, Pharaoh said, I'm not going to let you go nowhere. 8 and 1. Go ahead and read.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, go unto Pharaoh and say unto them, thus saith the Lord, let my people go, that they may serve me. And if thou refuse to let them go, behold, I will smite all thy borders with frogs.
Now, if Pharaoh was in control of his own faculties, he'd have let them go, especially after that blood water thing, wouldn't he?
Right.
But he couldn't. That's why I tell people, don't mess around and get you a reprobate mind. The Lord didn't mark you for destruction now. As if you keep being stupid, keep kicking against his truth, and going against his laws, after a while, he's going to put something on you. This is a good example here. Because the Egyptians had gone too far. Pharaohs had gone too far. Go ahead and read.
3. And the rivers shall bring forth frogs abundantly, which shall go up and come into thy house, and into thy bedchamber, and upon thy bed.
And that's one of my secrets I have. I am afraid of all kind of frogs. How is it you're afraid of frogs, Brother Boyd? Because when I was growing up, we used to hunt frogs. You get these gigs and we grab them. And I caught a great big one time. And he got out of the croaker sack. I don't know, maybe y'all don't know what a croaker sack is. There's a sack you had made out of tweeds. He got out and was hid in the house about a week. My mom called and said, she guessed he's in the bedroom jumping around. She said, Henry, that frog you got a week ago, he's in the bedroom. I went and I called him. I put him on the, one of them round dish pans, what you wash dishes in. Right. Gonna kill him the next day, right? When I got ready to pick it up, he tried to jump out. I slammed it down on his back, and he screamed like a baby. Scared me to death. I swept that frog off the back porch. I don't know what happened to him, and I ain't had nothing to do with frogs from that day to this one. Because I ain't never heard an animal scream like a human. Have you ever been so scared that you feel waves go through to it? So if I was in Egypt, boy, I'd be in trouble. Go finish that verse.
He said, into thy bedchamber, and upon thy bed, and into the house of thy servants, and upon thy people, and in thine ovens, and into thine kneading troughs.
Oh, boy, that's too much. Skip down to verse 6 and go ahead.
And Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt.
Oh, man. I mean, frogs was everywhere. That was, sisters and brothers, the second plague brought on Israel. Because the frogs come up out the swamp from everywhere, and they covered the land all over. Now, skip down to verse 8 and go ahead.
Then Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and said, entreat the Lord that he may take away the frogs from me and from my people, and I will let the people go that they may do sacrifices to the Lord.
And I'd have said the same thing. Moses, please entreat the Lord so he's going to take away the frogs.
Yeah.
And Moses did what the Lord said. Skip down to verse 13.
And the Lord
he did what Pharaoh said and entreated the Lord. And what did the Lord do? Go ahead and read.
And the Lord did according to the word of Moses, and the frogs died out of the houses, out of the villages, and out of the fields. And they gathered them together upon heaps, and the land stank.
Go ahead.
But when Pharaoh saw that there was respite, he hardened his heart and hearkened not unto them as the Lord had said.
Boy, I'm going to tell you something, boy. The Lord would have had to do physical surgery on me for me to harden my heart. Frogs? Don't nobody get cute and show up with me with no rubber frog or nothing. I'm going to tell you that, because whatever happened to you, it is on you. All right? But anyway, he hardened his heart again and wouldn't let the people go. Go ahead and read.
Oh, man. 16. And the Lord said unto Moses, say unto Aaron, stretch out thy rod and smite the dust of the land, that it may become lice throughout all the land of Egypt. And they did so. For Aaron stretched out his hand with his rod and smote the dust of the earth, and it became lice in man and in beasts. All the dust of the land became lice throughout all the land of Egypt.
Boy, that's up now. I mean, the lice was everywhere. I guess if you got dust on you, you know, you got dirty, you be in the cleanest environment. When you go and take a bath, you always get dirt off, don't you?
Right.
So that means that dust was in the pores of your skin. He made them lice. And them lice was eating them up. That's the third plague, sisters and brothers. That's the third plague. Now skip down to verse 19 and go ahead.
Then the magician said unto Pharaoh, this is the finger of God.
Now the Egyptian couldn't do that, because them lice was eating them. Witchcrafters, the musicians. You understand? You know, somebody always trying to come up with something. Oh, you get musicians can do this here. We can do this here with this sign and with this spell. But no, them guys that work them spells say, look here, this is the finger of God here, because these lice are eating on us.
Yep.
Pharaoh didn't like that. Go ahead and read.
This is the finger of God. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hearkened not unto them as the Lord had said.
Now he got mad because of what they said. Go ahead and read.
And the Lord said unto Moses, rise up early in the morning and stand before Pharaoh. Lo, he cometh forth to the water, and say unto him, thus saith the Lord, let my people go, that they may serve me. Else, if thou wilt not let my people go, behold, I will send swarms of flies upon thee, and upon thy servants, and upon thy people, and into thy houses, and the houses of the Egyptians shall be full of swarms of flies, and also the ground whereon they are.
Boy, that is really something, man. I mean, forms of flies. I'm telling you, look down, there's flies. Look up, flies. They're flying all around. He said, I'm going to do that. Go ahead and read.
And I will sever in that day the land of Goshen, in which my people dwell, that no swarms of flies shall be there, to the end thou mayest know that I am the Lord in the midst of the earth.
That's where the Lord made a difference now. He hit all Egypt, including Israel, with frogs and everything else, with the bloody water and the lice. But now, when he brought the flies, before he brought the flies, he said, I'm going to make a difference between Israel and the Egyptians. Remember, 3 plagues fell on all Egypt. But now, we're going to see how many plagues are going to fall on Egypt without touching Israel. Go ahead and read.
23. And I will put a division between my people and thy people. Tomorrow shall this sign be.
Go ahead.
And the Lord did so, and there came a grievous swarm of flies into the house of Pharaoh, and into his servants' houses, and into all the land of Egypt. The land was corrupted by reason of the swarms of flies.
Ain't that something? The whole land was corrupted by reason of the swarms of flies. They was everywhere. But skip down to verse 25 and read it.
And Pharaoh called for Moses and for Aaron and said, Go ye, sacrifice to your God in the land.
Go sacrifice to your God in the land. Because when they looked, sisters and brothers, flies was everywhere, but not one fly was in the land of Goshen where Israel was. Because the Lord had separated them. Skip down to verse 30 and go ahead.
And Moses went out from Pharaoh and entreated the Lord. And the Lord did according to the word of Moses. And he removed the swarms of flies from Pharaoh, from his servants, from his people. And from his people there remained not one. And Pharaoh hardened his heart at this time also, neither would he let the people go.
So he turned around. Soon the Lord gave him a little respite. Y'all ain't going nowhere.
No.
Remember, the Lord is doing this. Ain't no man could stand up behind all of this and all his people crying and suffering. Let's go right into Exodus, the 9th chapter. And we're going to start at verse 1. Exodus 9 and 1. So how many plagues we got now? Y'all tell me. That fell on Israel, and means on Egypt and not Israel. How many? One plague. I should have put it on the board, but you know, like this board here, you can't innovate now. One plague. Flies was all over Egypt, but one fly where the Israelites live. Not one. All over Chicago, but not one in the hood. Exodus 9.
That is right.
And verse 1. Exodus 9 and 1. Okay, go ahead.
Then the Lord said unto Moses, Go in unto Pharaoh and tell him, Thus saith the Lord, God of the Hebrews, Let my people go that they may serve me.
Go ahead.
For if thou refuse to let them go and will hold them still, behold, the hand of the Lord is upon thy cattle, which is in the field, upon the horses, upon the asses, upon the camels, upon the oxen, and upon the sheep. There shall be a very grievous murrain.
He said, my hand's going to be on all your stock. Going to be a whole lot of hollering. Go ahead and read.
And the Lord shall sever between the cattle of Israel and the cattle of Egypt. And there shall nothing die of all that is in the children of Israel.
Ain't that something? But he's going to make a difference between, he's going to put a divide. He's going to separate Israel from Egypt. And they ain't going to lose one calf. But I'm going to kill all the Egyptian cows. Go ahead and read.
And the Lord appointed a set time, saying, Tomorrow the Lord shall do this thing in the land. And the Lord did that thing on the morrow.
Go ahead.
And all the cattle of Egypt died. But of the cattle of the children of Israel died not one.
Now, that was the second plague. Make a note, 1 and 2. This is the second plague. He killed all the Egyptian cows, but didn't kill one cow among his people Israel. Why? Because he had separated them, sisters and brothers. Go ahead and read.
And Pharaoh sent, and behold, there was not one of the children of the Israelites dead. One of the cattle of the Israelites dead. And the heart of Pharaoh was hardened, and he did not let the people go.
Now he got mad. He didn't kill all our cows and didn't kill one. I tell you what, I ain't letting them go nowhere. He didn't know that God gave him that foul attitude.
Yep.
Oh, go ahead and read.
And the Lord said unto Moses and unto Aaron, Take to you handfuls of ashes of the furnace, and let Moses sprinkle it toward the heaven in the sight of Pharaoh. And it shall become small dust in all the land of Egypt, and shall be a boil breaking forth with blains upon man and upon beasts throughout all the land of Egypt.
Now, I want you to get some dust and throw it up. And it's going to hit on everybody. It's going to be boils and blains all over the body of everybody there, man and beast. Go ahead and read.
And they took ashes of the furnace and stood before Pharaoh, and Moses stretched it up toward heaven, and it became a boil breaking forth with blains upon man and upon beast.
Now, Moses did that. So all of a sudden, people full of boils and sores and wept. On everybody but Israel, sisters and brothers. The Lord shivered and made sure that nothing happened to Israel. Just think about this.
Yeah.
Verse 11, go ahead. Now, what plague was that? Make a note. Third plague on Egyptian only. Go ahead and read.
And the magicians could not stand before Moses because of the boils. For the boil was upon the magicians and upon all the Egyptians.
Now, so the magicians still couldn't stand. See, that's what it is when you're a servant of God. People that don't have no knowledge, they can't stand before you. They can run a while, but that knowledge is going to eventually come out.
Yes, sir.
The magician, when Moses threw his snake, his cane down, it became a snake. The magician did the same thing. But Moses' snake ate up the Egypt magician's snake. That's where it's always going to be. So they couldn't do this. They said, no, this thing here is not from us. Go ahead and read.
And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, and he hearkened not unto them as the Lord had spoken unto Moses.
So he hardened his heart again. Wouldn't listen again. I ain't letting y'all go nowhere. Skip down to verse 18. Verse 18. And go ahead.
Behold, tomorrow, about this time, I will cause it to rain a very grievous hail, such as had not been in Egypt since the foundation thereof, even until now.
He said, now, if you don't let my people go, I'm going to bring some hell on you that ain't never been in Egypt. Go ahead and read.
Send therefore now, and gather thy cattle, and all that thou hast in the field, for upon every man and beast which shall be found in the field, and shall not be brought home, the hail shall come down upon them, and they shall die.
He said, I want y'all to go out and get all your cattle and bring them in the house, whatever you got, because if you don't, I'm going to kill them with hail. I'm pretty sure that all of the Israelites listen. But keep reading right on through. Go ahead and read.
He that feareth the word of the Lord among the servants of Pharaoh made his servants and his cattle flee into the houses.
Oh, you mean a few Egyptians started to believe then, didn't they? Go ahead and read.
And he that regarded not the word of the Lord left his servants and his cattle in the field. And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch forth thine hand toward heaven, that there may be hail in all the land of Egypt upon man and upon beast and upon every herb of the field throughout the land of Egypt.
So he stretched it forth. Skip down to verse 25 and go ahead.
And the hail smote throughout all the land of Egypt, all that was in the field, both man and beast. And the hail smote every herb of the field and brake every tree of the field. Only in the land of Goshen, where the children of Israel were, there was no hail.
Ain't that something? Now, what plague was that now? The fourth one. He hailed all over Egypt, but he didn't cause no hail in the land of Goshen, where the children of Israel were. Right. This is the Lord showing you that he can separate his people. Even now. Yes. Skip down to verse 35. So Pharaoh looked and he got mad. Lord hardened his heart again. Verse 35. Go ahead and read.
And the heart of Pharaoh was hardened. Neither would he let the children of Israel go, as the Lord had spoken by Moses.
And he still wouldn't let him go. That's why the Lord told Moses, I will harden his heart.
Yeah.
Now let's go into Genesis, the 10th chapter. Exodus, the 10th chapter. Well, why am I stuck on Genesis? Good grief. Exodus, the 10th chapter, and let's start at verse 3. 10 and 3. 10 and 3. Go ahead.
And Moses and Aaron came in unto Pharaoh and said unto him, thus saith the Lord God of the Hebrews, how long wilt thou refuse to humble thyself before me? Let my people go that they may serve me.
Boy, that God of Israel is something, ain't it? He know this cat can't say no. Right. But he gonna ask him anyway, how long? What am I gonna have to do to you, man, before you let my people go? Right. And he know the man couldn't let him do. I'm gonna tell you something. That tell me something about the God of Israel. Yeah. Do not get him mad at you. See, don't nobody know this about God. No. They done made God a powder puff. Jesus so soft, he loved everybody. This is Jesus.
Yes, sir.
Conducting this, sister and brother, before he became Jesus. How long? Go ahead and read.
Let my people go that they may serve me. Else, if thou refuse to let my people go, behold, tomorrow will I bring the locusts into thy coast.
Okay, if you don't let them go, I'm going to bring locusts into you. Skip down to verse 12, because Pharaoh didn't do it. Verse 12. And go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thine hand over the land of Egypt for the locusts, that they may come up upon the land of Egypt and eat every herb of the land, even all that the hail has left.
That Lord, boy, he drives a hard bargain, don't he?
Wipe you out.
Go ahead and read.
And Moses stretched forth his rod over the land of Egypt, and the Lord brought an east wind upon the land all that day and all that night. And when it was morning, the east wind brought the locust. And the locust went up over all the land of Egypt and rested in all the coast of Egypt, and very grievous were they. Before them there was no such locust as they, neither after them shall be such.
He must have gathered every locust in the Middle East and brought them there. Go ahead and read.
For they covered the face of the whole earth, so that the land was darkened. And they did eat every herb of the land, and all the fruit of the trees which the hail had left. And there remained not any green thing in the trees or in the herbs of the field throughout all the land of Egypt.
You know what a locust is? That's what we call a grasshopper.
Yeah.
They come and ate everything, all the grass, and stripped the trees. That was the 5th plague. And none of it got close to Israel, sisters and brothers. None of it got close to Israel. Go ahead and read.
Then Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron in haste, and he said, I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you.
In haste. He sent for them quickly.
Yeah.
Please come on down here, because that was the 5th plague. Skip down to verse 19 and go ahead.
And the Lord turned a mighty strong west wind, which took away the locusts and cast them into the Red Sea. There remained not one locust in all the coast of Egypt. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart so that he would not let the children of Israel go.
But he did it again. Boy, the Lord was really mad at Israel. Remember, he told Moses he's not going to listen to you, because I want to lay my hand on Egypt. He was really mad at Egypt, sisters and brothers. And just let you know he was mad. Go ahead, because he could have sprung Israel from the first plague.
Yeah, he could have.
But no. You done did too much. You done worked my people hard. You done had them make bricks without straws. You done did everything. You done killed all the young males.
Yes.
And you think you just going to let them go without yourself being unmolested? This God don't think like that. You're learning how the God of this Bible thinks, sisters and brothers. Yeah. It will be to your advantage to remember. Go ahead and read.
21. And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thy hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt.
Boy, that's dark, ain't it? Go ahead and read.
And Moses stretched forth his hand toward heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. They saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings.
Ain't that something? Boy, it's so dark. You could be laying in the bed with your wife and you can't see her. That's dark, ain't it? For 3 days, you couldn't see nobody. You couldn't even see your own hand. But in the land, in the Goshen where Israel was, it was light. That'll let you know God can do everything. He can rain in the middle, have the sun shining there and snowing over there.
Right.
You know why? Inside this room. Why? Because he is God. He's letting you know his power.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and read what verse?
We're at 24.
Go ahead.
And Pharaoh called unto Moses and said, go ye, serve the Lord. Only let your flocks and your herds be stayed. Let your little ones also go with you.
Now, after the darkness, what plague was that? That was the 6th plague, what?
Yeah.
He said, now I want you to go on. Now, serve the Lord. Only let your flocks and your herds be stayed. Don't take them with you. And you can take your children also with you. Go ahead and read.
And Moses said, thou must give us also sacrifices and burnt offerings, that we may sacrifice unto the Lord our God.
See, look, man, we're going to need our cattle to do sacrifice. Go ahead and read.
Our cattle also shall go with us. There shall not a hoof be left behind.
That Moses got bad, didn't he? He wasn't making no request no more. He was giving a commandment.
Yeah, he was.
We're going to take every cow and we ain't going to leave a hoof back here. You know Pharaoh didn't like that. Go ahead and read.
For there we must take to serve the Lord our God, and we know not with what we must serve the Lord until we come there.
Go ahead.
But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let them go.
Go ahead.
And Pharaoh said unto him, get thee from me. Take heed to thyself. see my face no more. For in that day thou seest my face, thou shalt die.
Now, he done threatened Moses now. He said, man, you better get out of my face. Tell me you ain't going to leave a hoof behind. I tell you what, if I see you again, mister, you going to die.
Yeah.
Was Moses rattled? Go ahead and read.
And Moses said, thou hast spoken well. I will see thy face again no more.
Yeah, partner, I ain't going to see your face no more. You spoken well. Moses didn't sound like he was frightened. Because after a while, when the Lord is with you and you start to feel the Lord is with you, you don't fear nothing or nobody.
Nothing.
I mean, when you really know, sisters and brothers.